Corker. Chairman Clayton, I want to discuss with you the SEC gag rule on settlements. It was addressed in a Wall Street Journal opinion piece on November 14th. Here's how Judge Jed Rakoff from the Southern District referred to them in 2011. The result is a stew of confusion and hypocrisy unworthy of such a proud agency as the SEC. The defendant is free to proclaim that he has never remotely admitted the terrible wrongs alleged by the SEC, but by gosh, he had better be careful not to deny them either. Here, an agency of the United States is saying, in effect, although we claim that these defendants have done terrible things, they refuse to admit it, and we do not propose to prove it, but will simply resort to gagging their right to deny it. The disservice to the public inherent in such a practice is palpable. Could you explain to the committee what public interest the gag order on discussing settlements with the Commission serves?
It has been an effective means to reach a settlement that is in the interests of the public. Let me just say that if we can settle matters quickly, we can move on to look at other matters. And the no admit, no deny approach has enabled us to get to settlements that get people their money back, get bad actors out of the marketplace, and draw a line under that matter. So it has been an effective means of pursuing remedies.
One might also say it allows a company and an agency who have both failed in a particular matter to conceal that failure from the public as well.
It's not the right approach in every matter.
So there's a wrinkle in the rule that says if a defendant who has reached a settlement is under one of these orders testifies in a court of law that he is no longer bound by that gag order, which implies that the gag order might require him to say something untruthful. What's your thoughts on that wrinkle?
I think that's how would I say this? It's a result of the unique nature of testifying in those types of situations.
So it's okay to have defendants who have reached a settlement with the SEC say things to the public that might be untruthful, but not say them in court? And we're talking about a prior restraint on speech that is also content-based, the most disfavored kind of regulations under Supreme Court First Amendment precedent. They require a compelling government interest in the most narrowly tailored means.
Look, we all know that the First Amendment doesn't permit all speech without sanction. You can't commit fraud, using words. I think this was developed in part to restrict somebody who had done prior wrong, or we think had done prior wrong, from telling people, pay no attention to that. It doesn't, and when you're dealing with somebody in the securities industry, their history is something that is of relevance.
Well, they can say that they didn't commit what was alleged against them. They just can't deny the allegations that were made. I know this is not a Jay Clayton initiative. It goes back since before I was born, but it's come under criticism for a very long time. Do you think that this gag order has First Amendment problems? You personally?
Me personally? I think that we have a long history of people agreeing to restrict certain things that they can say in the commercial arena.
Okay. My time has almost expired. Thanks for the exchange. I think the SEC probably needs...
I didn't know this was going to be a con law class.
Yeah, I think the SEC should probably reconsider it. It was passed at a time in 1972 when First Amendment precedent was much different and frankly more favorable to the government than it probably should have been. I understand the points that you're making about public interest, but I do think it's quite overbroad. It's not at all narrowly tailored anymore, and it can undermine other legitimate public interests.
I understand.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
Thank you.
Senator Van